later. For me, as the interim country director of German international cooperation, it is actually a great pleasure because I was here 2 years ago when we, as GIZ, discussed the project and the support for the Namibian government with the Statistic Agency and with NPC, and I'm so happy and glad now to see that these proposals, the suggestions we made, then materialize, and that Namibia, with its efforts to deal with the SDG and to make them real here and to achieve them here in Namibia, has made such a big progress. I also would like to start by quoting another Nobel Prize laureate who is still alive, Joseph Stiglitz, who says that the only true and sustainable prosperity is shared prosperity. This belief is supported by both governments of the Republic of Namibia and the Federal Republic of Germany. In this context, it needs to be noted that your President, His Excellency Dr. Hage Geingob, is famous for often stating, I quote, "Inclusivity spells harmony, whereas exclusivity spells conflict," end of quote. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel is equally known for stressing inclusivity, and for example, she, in the round of the G20, always reminds leaders assembling in this group to focus on sustainable and inclusive economic growth rather than only on own prosperity. It was this common understanding of the challenges lying ahead that our two governments could easily agree on establishing a joint program on the Sustainable Development Goals Initiative. In 2017, we as GIZ have been commissioned by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is represented by my colleague Mrs. Sauer from the German Embassy today, to implement that project together with 3 selected Namibian agencies and partners: the National Planning Commission of Namibia, the Ministry of Finance, and the National Statistic Agency. I'm not sure whether this is the right sequence and protocol things, but I should have started with the Ministry of Finance, I think. And to jointly roll out the so-called Sustainable Development Goals Initiative in Namibia. This program actually aims to support 3 major outcomes upon the request of the government of Namibia, namely, first, to foster coherence and to improve the alignment of development plans of the Republic of Namibia to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030, as well as to assist the government of Namibia to develop a medium to long-term integrated financial framework to improve the channeling of scarce resources towards development goals. Secondly, to support improved collection of domestically mobilized resources through technical assistance towards the establishment and operationalization of the Namibia Revenue Authority. And finally, to support the monitoring and evaluation of SDGs and development goals of national development plans, which brings us together today. It is gratifying to note that significant progress has been made regarding all 3 outcomes, and you may understand when I use this opportunity before this audience to at least very briefly reflect on what that means. The establishment of the Namibia Revenue Authority is on track, and the Ministry of Finance is busy to make it operational as quick as possible, and we as GIZ are there still to support that, and I hope we will continue the upcoming government-to-government negotiations in Berlin end of September will make clear what the further progress will be. Recently, The penultimate draft report on the Development Finance Assessment report was discussed at a stakeholder workshop on the side of as a side event on the HLPF in New York. And today we are witnessing the release of the first SDG baseline report and accompanying monitoring tools for Namibia. This release, and I need to add, at a quite early stage, puts Namibia among a handful of African countries that to date have managed to release such reports. This detailed report capacitates and allows the Namibian government to track progress on more than 70% of the more than 200 globally agreed upon SDG indicators. Since the finalization of the report a few weeks ago, more indicators have been included in the online SDG portal hosted by the NSA. We commend the NSA and partners of the National Statistics System on this excellent work and progress. I think that deserves an applause for the NSA. Director of Ceremonies, the GIZ and the Namibia Statistics Agency have a long and good history of excellent cooperation. It started right at the inception of the NSA when we partnered to establish it in 2013, one of the most modern national data processing facilities on the continent. Subsequently, we have collaborated in various ways with the NSA, including development of the SDG baseline report that is released today. The GIZ, as commissioned by the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, together with the Federal Republic of Namibia, stands ready to continue supporting the NSA in closing important data gaps and in domesticating some of the SDG indicators to be more country-specific. Equally important is to give meaning to one of the key principles of the Agenda 2030 of Leave No One Behind, which will require deeper disaggregation of statistics. In this connection, we are pleased to note that later this year the NSA will be hosting a technical workshop on what the definition of Leave No One Behind should comprise in the case of Namibia. This is an activity that GIZ fully supports. Director of Ceremonies, the 2019 UN Sustainable Development Report notes that 4 years after adoption of the SDGs and Paris Agreement, no single country is on track in meeting all these goals. More worrying is that in some areas there has been regression. The authors of the report argue that gradual progress is not enough, but that deep transformations are required to achieve the SDG goals and the climate accord. Later this year, at the UN General Assembly, leaders of the world will assess progress made and give new marching orders of how to get on track now. It can, however, not happen in the absence of reliable and accurate statistics. The release of today's report is, therefore, an important step in the right direction towards identifying areas of progress and where there is a need for improvement and more aggressive intervention towards achieving the Namibia's development goals. Together with my thanks to the NSA and partners of the National Statistics Agency for that commendable result, I would like you to continue and to keep the report and monitoring framework alive through regular updates and improvements of the quality of data, but even more with action. Thank you.